This is our travel album. So I was 8 and we left Melbourne. My parents sold everything. We'd never caravanned ever. And they sold our house in Yarraville. And I think they spent about $1,800 on the caravan.
1,800?
It was very run down. They had to it didn't even have like a 3-way power. So they had to put a house fridge in there. Like literally couldn't use it off grid. But we were always off grid because they didn't have the money for caravan parks. So I don't know how we survived, to be honest. But
yeah, like what food would you have had if like just tinned?
So many tins. Powdered, do you remember Deb mashed potato?
Mm-hmm. I had them in America.
Yeah. So much long life milk. I will never ever drink long life milk again.
You just speed down that aisle of the...
Blech.
And when your parents were like, yeah, let's go on a road trip, like what was your first feeling? You were stoked.
Yeah. So I remember being enrolled in homeschooling, and I remember we had to start it in the house. I just remember sitting in our lounge room and starting to look at all the books and whatnot. And we were so excited. But the plan was to travel. We were going to go all the way around and then get down to the Gold Coast, and we were going to settle on the Gold Coast. So I thought I was moving to the Gold Coast. But I wasn't for many, many years. But I was just really excited about living near Dreamworld, really.
Had you ever been before?
Yeah, we did a road trip up to Queensland not long before this. I think my mum was pregnant with one of my brothers, who's 2 when we left. I love this photo.
Which one?
Of the van with the, it's on the Nullarbor. And you can literally see where the van has been hacked at on the side to fit the fridge. It's got a house aircon. I can see a house aircon hanging out the back.
Did anyone pull you over?
No. It was such the done thing. It was so normal.
Really?
It was just so normal back then. I can't imagine that now.
Yeah. Did you care about what the van looked like?
Not at all. I don't remember any sort of bad feelings. So my parents had ripped out, so we had quad bunks down one end, and so all 4 of us, and my brothers were like 2 and 3 months old. And then there was like a combo shower and toilet in there, and down the other end my parents had pulled out the bed and they put, remember those futon beds that would like fold up into a lounge?
Yeah.
They slept on a futon down the other end. And we've met someone that did sign writing in a caravan park, and I remember she cut out all these dolphins. We had put dolphin decals all up the side of the van. It's pretty classy.
Tell us a bit about the sort of people that you met at these caravan parks. Like, I just could imagine all walks of life.
Yeah, we met so many kids. We'd beg for a caravan park because we knew we'd meet other kids, and then we'd either keep in contact via letters, and I remember as well we had one of the radios in the car and we'd be on it all the time, and other kids would tune in and we'd be talking to like random kids driving as well. But yeah, we would just be off all the time playing with random kids, and then you'd never see them again, but it was normal. Like, yeah, we just loved it. We were so social. My parents met a lot of people. That's how we got into caravans, was meeting someone in a caravan park who worked in caravans.
Yeah. What was his name again?
Robbie G.
Yeah.
So he worked for a big brand at the time. I remember, I think my dad was helping him, or he was helping my dad reverse, and then they just started talking, and so that was in Perth. And then him and his partner kept travelling with us, and we travelled right up to Broome, and that's where my dad got offered 2 weeks of work as a mechanic. And Robbie said, we're going to keep travelling, but then they kept in touch, and Robbie would come and visit us all the time, and he'd stay with us in Broome. And then years later, it must have been 15 years after we met him, he called my mum. We were living in Queensland at the time, so we'd left Broome by this point, and he called my mum and said, we need show staff. And she started working. She did a caravan show. I can't remember who she started with, and then my dad started, and then I started at 18. I flew down from Queensland for the Sandown show, which is a huge show, and I remember it was sideways raining. I remember my mum was wearing white, and she went to close an awning. All the water came down on her. She had to just walk around semi-nude. And I just remember Dandenong, sideways rain. It was awful, and I was working for Windsor, but I loved it.
Yeah.
And then I just started every weekend. I would work a full-time job in a completely unrelated industry, and every weekend I'd fly out. I'd fly out the Friday night, and I'd work Saturday and Sunday, fly in the Sunday. Yeah.
So you knew how to hustle.
I did.
Back then, because you guys now, your balance, and how do you right now balance family life, van life, business? You wear so many different hats.
We do. it's tough. The kids are young, but we know it's not forever. And all of our customers are families. They get it.
Yeah.
So I remember when Max was born, we were here, and I remember I was feeding him, and another mother had come in, and our boys were 7 days apart, and she was sitting there feeding her boy, and I just thought, this is really cool. Like, we have this, the amount of customers that were like holding our newborn baby whilst we were, you know, showing them. I did a handover. I've got a photo somewhere. I did a handover, and he was strapped on. He was 7 days old, and he was in the carrier for the entire handover, and he just slept. But we just did the juggle. We used to have a cot in the corner. Some of our customers will remember the cot in the corner. And we'd have all the lights, so as soon as people would get here, we'd run out so that it would stay dark and quiet in there. But our customers just got it. And so I think that was really helpful.
So tell me a little bit about, I guess, some of your, like, I'm going to go back to family life and Shan, because, you know, he's a huge part of this, but about, I guess, what were some of your favourite memories?
Probably my absolute favourite, I'm trying to think of where we were. I think it was somewhere in the Ningaloo Reef, and we were camping on a beach. And I remember my mum coming in the morning and being like, get up, get up, get up. And we've all like come out, and there was just dolphins everywhere. And she was like, get in the water. And we all just got it. I was terrified. I was absolutely terrified. We all just got in the water, and they were swimming around us, and they were jumping everywhere. And it was really cool. It was really cool. They were everywhere. And then they just became normal. We just saw dolphins all the time. I was terrified of everything water related. I don't know how I got through it. We actually went to Exmouth, which is Ningaloo again, and you go out on a glass bottom boat, and then you jump off and you swim with the whale sharks. I was terrified.
Yeah,
I could swim. I was a confident swimmer, but I remember asking for a life jacket, and I don't know if it just gave me a feeling of, because it was terrifying. And my parents were just like, get in, we've paid for this.
Did you guys have any family traditions on the road that you've also now brought into your own family?
I guess I've brought in caravanning in general. But no, I think my parents would have spent a long time just surviving with the 4 children.
Yeah.
And just homeschooling. You know, it was different back then. Now you don't have to enrol in homeschool. You can stay enrolled in your school and keep a journal. It just wasn't the case back then. Yeah, it's really cool. Heaps of our customers, their children won't do homeschooling. They'll stay in their current school, keep a journal.
That's so cool. So much easier.
Awesome. Yeah, so much easier now.
Yeah.
But I'm glad caravanning came into like our lives, and yeah.
I mean, you wouldn't be here.
No,
would you?
Not at all.
Like, who knows where you would be?
Who would have thought? Who would have thought? My dad was a mechanic. My mum just, you know, she had admin type roles, and caravans were not on the agenda.
Yeah, yeah. Tell us a little bit about the journey between, you know, you're 18, you're doing shows, somewhere in the mix you meet Shan, somewhere in the mix you create Wildtrail. Like, what was all of that? So
I was working in Queensland. I was working for a company that manufactured plumbing fittings. I was in sales, and Shannon worked in their Melbourne branch, and he worked in the manufacturing side of things. And in 2015, we did move around a lot, and I decided to come back to Melbourne. Bit of a change, new life. And so I resigned from that company, and I handed my resignation, and she said, my boss at the time said, why don't you just move to Melbourne with the company? And I remember I was all packed up, and I'd had a big night the night before as well. And I was all packed up, and I had to sit there for the rest of the day in shock. And then a week later or something, I drove my car down. Everything was packed in. I had my fish in the cup holder. And I drove...
Your what?
A fish.
A live fish.
A live fish, because there was no other way to transport my pet. And so I drove down, and I moved in my best friend's house in Narre Warren. I turned up to work and met Shannon face to face. And we'd always dealt with each other before that. So obviously weren't doing caravan related. During COVID, so Shannon was on my back all the time. You love caravans, you've got to get back into it. But we live Mornington Peninsula way. Everything is manufactured in Campbellfield. It's an hour and a half. And then during COVID, I was made redundant because my job was, I sold to our retail section. And obviously retail was hit. So I was made redundant. I was on maternity leave with Freddie. Yeah, my job was gone. And then at the same time, Shannon had been working towards a huge promotion, the highest position in Victoria for the company. And they lowballed him on the offer, like really aggressive. That he would actually step back, because he would go from wages with overtime, and he was going to take a step back. And so we decided to decline the offer. We just decided to start buying secondhand vans, fixing what needed to be fixed and selling them. And then we just kept going and going and going until we could afford to start with new vans.
Yeah.
And then we leased this place here and Shannon resigned. He'd been there 20 years and he resigned. We were terrified.
Oh, I bet.
And we started Beachside Caravans, and we were selling other brands, and we loved it. We loved being in the caravans, but we couldn't be creative. It wasn't ours to be creative with. We had so many ideas and so many things we wanted to do. An opportunity came up and we just took it, and we didn't know what, the van had started being built and we didn't know what it was going to be called. We tried to register a completely different business name, which was knocked back. And we were driving. We actually had a 24-foot van on the back with the kids in the car. I was pregnant with Max, and we were driving, and the name just sort of came up, and we registered Wildtrail. Yeah.
In terms of like, you had a story about, I forgot the name of the place, but the horses, the van.
Yes. So that was with my own children. So we booked a hip camp. So an app, it's the Airbnb of caravanning. So it's someone else's property. We didn't really think too much of it. It was a farm. When we got there, she opened the first gate and then she said, "Oh, come through this way and we'll take you to the horse paddock." And when we went in, she opened it. It was kind of confronting at the start, but the horses just ran, and there was probably like 10 of them, and they were just running alongside of the car. And it was just really cool. I had a kid on my lap because we'd taken 2 cars. I had a kid on my lap, and they were, driving as they do out in the paddocks. And the horses were very inquisitive. The lady ended up putting him into a different paddock because they were very inquisitive. But yeah, it was really cool.
That was their dolphin moment.
It was. It was. The kids absolutely loved it.
And what other like core memories, I guess, do you want to share with your kids now that you've got caravanning and stuff?
I want them to experience or to remember the freedom. When they're at home, we're constantly like, get off this, don't do this. When we're in the caravan, they're just off. They're meeting other children. They're running until they're tiny little dots in the distance, and they're together. I want them to remember being together and playing together and building those relationships, rather than with other children.
Yeah, rather than devices that our brains are always consumed by.
And the kids are all different. We go away and Mabel, she'll run, she'll get into anything. Freddie is a less outdoors man, but he will play with his blocks and stuff under the awning, and they just get to do their own thing and do it their way, which is really cool. Even if they come here, they're trying to hook up the van to the back of the car, and so you'll be in it and the jockey wheel's going down, and you've got to, they just love it. They love being involved. They love doing it. Even our walkthrough videos, Mabel will get in a van and she'll start being like, "And this is the cupboards."
I love that.
She did a video recently where she said there's 2 bunks in that van over there, and she said, so there's only Mabel and Freddie. You leave the baby with Nanny and Papa. And I was like, that's pretty good idea.
Yeah. How funny. And do you think like your kids will be in the same industry? You think so? You're like, it's going to happen.
Freddie will only ever wear Wildtrail shirts. He wears them to school. He's wearing one right now. And he puts on his uniform every day. He doesn't like wearing anything else. We always say he'll be the brains. He'll be the engineer. Mabel is very personable. She'll be the me.
Yeah.
She will talk to everyone.
She's already got the tours down pat.
Absolutely. And Max, we don't know yet. We don't know. But I do think it'll be in them. I mean, it was passed down to me.
A dream travel destination?
Oh, I have to say, even though I've been there, I have to say Broome.
Yeah. Special place in your heart?
Yeah. And there's one thing to fly into Broome. It's a whole other thing to go there with a car and a van. If you've been there, you need to drive on the beach. You can't just hire a car to do that. There are places to camp that are just out of Broome that the hotel's not going to give you. It is the absolute ultimate destination, in my opinion, is there.
And back to Broome, because like that was a huge part of your childhood. What was it like?
It was awesome. It was so good. It's a very transient town. There are a lot of people that did exactly what we did. But then there are a lot of people that were born there. We did primary school there, so we stayed in the local caravan park for a while, enrolled in school. We were in primary, and then we did high school there. So really, because it is quite transient and a lot of people have stopped there, it's a very family feel. Like a lot of people don't have family there. So everyone has Christmas together because, you know, everyone looks after each other's children and, you know, obviously things were a bit different there. You know, we walked everywhere. One of my friends' dad was the bus driver. There was one bus. And one of my friend's dads was the driver, and he'd come at every stop every hour. So it took an hour to get to every stop. My friend, her mum was my brother's teacher. Everyone just knew everyone. I worked in the McDonald's as a teenager and everyone just knew everyone.
Is there any other stories that you can think of that have come from childhood or trips that you've had with family that you want to highlight?
Let me have a look.
Yeah, go for it.
Some of the hindsight stuff is pretty funny. Like, we would swim in places, there is no way I'd swim now. I remember like freshwater crocodiles and my parents would be like, just walk past it. And I remember my brother went through a phase of being like addicted to a stubby cooler. Do you know how they've got a comforter? Well, his was a stubby cooler. And I remember he dropped it and it rolled near a freshwater crocodile and he wouldn't stop screaming and my sister had to get a stick and like fish it back. Can you imagine now? But yeah, we survived. This is Monkey Mire. So that's where the dolphins swim up to.
Yeah.
So that was really cool, getting to feed them. But it was after that all the dolphins came up on the beach and we were like, this is better.
You guys probably gave them great food.
Yeah.
Like pelicans.
Yeah.
Or not pelicans, what are they called? Seagulls.
My sister and I used to collect crabs, sand crabs. And we went one night, we were at, I think it's called Kwangdong Beach. It's up near Broome, and we were there and it was night time. We'd walked away from the caravan and we were collecting crabs and you'd shine the torch and we were down there and we saw red eyes when we shined the torch and it was a saltwater croc and we had to run and I remember running back to the, we thought it was a car in the distance, but then when it started to move we realised it wasn't. And then I remember getting back to the caravan and shaking and we got chased by a crocodile. Actually, this place, I don't even recall where it was, but I know that it was a birthday there. And my sister and I would stay up later than everyone. And I remember we would pick all the oysters off the rocks. I remember sitting there for hours just eating oysters and throwing the shells into the fire.
Is that what gave you your love for oysters? Because you literally put that on your story the other day.
I feel like none of the oysters have ever lived up
to that.
Yeah, pulling them straight off the rocks. All these photos would have been on, you know, a wind-up camera, processed later. You wouldn't have known what was going to be in them. My brother, who was 3 months when we left, he just lived in a walker and just we'd take his walker everywhere because he couldn't get anywhere in it. And it was like sitting in a river and you just move his walker around. This place here, this is called the Sade Hut. Oh, I don't know if it's still called that, but it was called the Sade Hut in Broome. And it was a pub that had a pool in the back, which not legal now. And they have since filled in the pool. But I remember when we got to Broome, they used to do hermit crab races. And so you would pick your hermit crab. And I will never forget, number 8, I thought was my favourite number. It was gone. I picked number 7 and it won. Bloody won. And I remember I won $40 and my mum made me give 20 to my sister. I've not gotten over that.
So Kat, tell us about a typical day back then, caravanning, start to finish.
So we would always, we would stop somewhere that was less entertaining for a few days and we'd do all of our schoolwork. So 2 or 3 days, smash out all of our schoolwork and then we would go somewhere. And my parents are really good at taking us on tours and we did visit a lot of places, so we were pretty active. But yeah, we'd wake up on a beach and my sister and I would just go off and, you know, do whatever we wanted to do for the entire day. We'd make damper. Obviously everything was cooked on a barbecue, absolutely. I don't even think we would have had cooking facilities inside the van. But yeah, we would do whatever we wanted. We were just free range.
So tell us a little bit about, like, you know, did you have a TV?
I don't recall a TV. I don't think we had one. You wouldn't have got reception. There wouldn't have been an antenna. And obviously no internet. I do remember some of the radio because I remember being gutted when Jerry left the Spice Girls. Oh, absolutely gutted. But yeah, we wouldn't have had any of that. No devices. I remember we had to keep a journal. I remember journaling every day, but I don't have them anymore.
Was that for homeschool? Or
yes. Oh, no, I think my mum got us to keep a journal. I actually remember packing everything up here as well. I remember we got a big shipping container and my parents were telling us, you know, Carl, like, don't pack everything, and I would sneak stuff in. I snuck lollies in And we got this shipping container like years later. We got it delivered to Broome. It was like, it had melted. And but yeah, all of our stuff was packed in, which in hindsight, you know, it was years later we got the shipping container and there was like floral lounges in there that were just, you know, don't keep stuff for years. No. Yeah, we left our dogs in Melbourne too, actually, and they eventually moved to Broome with us. Yeah.
Years later?
Years later. Years. So they stayed at the shipping yard. So my dad was friends with the owner of the shipping yard, the container yard, and the dogs stayed there. And yeah, a few years later, he went and got them because we weren't going to settle in Broome. But by the time we'd settled, yeah, they decided to go get them.
Yeah, because it was meant to only be 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So when we were going to Queensland.
Yeah.
They were so excited. When we were dropping them off, we had 2 big Rottweilers, and our girl wasn't okay. But they settled, and then when they saw us, I just remember how excited they were. They remembered us. I can't remember how many years it was, but it was nice to have them back. And actually, our girl moved to Queensland with us eventually as well.
Yeah. They never forget.
They don't.
No.
Do you have any customers that travel with pets?
2 that I know of. So we've got a beautiful customer, Angela, and her and her dog Ollie travel, and she built an Airlie with us, and she was just so great. She just took on board everything, and she built just such a great van for her to work on the road. But Ollie travels with her. She's got a sausage dog. And we've got a customer that we're building for at the moment. She is going with, I think, a double bunk for her dogs, and then she's got a bird cage, so she's going the off-centered bed and her bird cage goes there. So she travels on her own.
If you could sum up your childhood on the road, in a van, you know, your story in a short sentence, what would it be?
It was the best part of my childhood. I tell everyone, it was the best. It was the best childhood memories I have were all on the road. It was so good.
Awesome. Thanks, Kat.